everyone. Ashley Mailloux, Scott Shapiro here, taking a look at the DRF race of the day for this Wednesday, August 20th. We'll go out to Indiana, Horseshoe, Indianapolis. They have a nice 9-race program, a lot of turf action. We'll focus in on one of the turf stakes. It's race number 8 on the program, going to kick off the late double on their program. It's the Bucchero Handicap, $100,000 race here for the Indiana breds. And Scott, it's a big field. It's almost overloaded, but you can see 14 here in this event. And obviously the outside 2 are the also eligibles looking to get in, so overfilled. But I thought in terms of a betting board, this should be a really good race.
Yeah, very difficult. Lots of different options as you decipher through the field, regardless of how you think the race will play out, which we'll talk about in a moment. But when these horses have a chance to run for 100,000, some of them might go being way over their head, but they're still going to take a swing against fellow Hoosier breds.
We'll take a look at the Time Form US pace projection here, a mile and a 16th on the grass, as we mentioned. And it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. I think with this being a big field, yes, Fantastic Vow does look to be the pace setter, but this is one that is cross-centered in a spot on Monday at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. And last time out, made a sizable lead, but still backed out of it. And I just wonder if they're really going to let this one get away that easily. But then again, you look at the fraction, Scott, can they keep up with this one? 22-45 to the half. That's the real question.
Yeah, it's interesting because are they going to use the same tactics 3 times in a row? Are there even options? Is he rateable? Because all of his other races were sprints where he was riding up and on the pace. But you think maybe they would try new tactics here since it was so disappointing last time. But you'd have to think he is the pace setter. If he tries new tactics, it's going to be kind of more of a bunch group. If not, it's going to be a well-strung out field, which some of these are actually been used to of late.
We will dive right into it here with the number 1, Terminally Handsome on the inside. This one was 4th last time out in the Governor's Handicap, a big purse on that one. That was on the main track. Now gets to the turf, and a little bit of a question mark, Scott. 0 for 3 in the money on the grass. I know this horse is attempted to close. I think the concern is there are horses in here that just they can close. They can show that in their starts, and he would need to do more.
Yeah, this is an example of a horse that, keeps trying occasionally these turf spots, probably in some cases the condition book, in this case, because it's $100,000, but it's pretty simple. His kick has just been much better on the dirt thus far.
Number 2, Anchor Maine, another sort of similar idea here in terms of the last few. They haven't been the best. Now, this is a 3-time winner over the turf out at Horseshoe, Indianapolis, actually had back-to-back wins late last year. And maybe a horse that gets better with races under the belt, and now just making the second start since March would be the upside. But based on the form so far in 2025, a pretty tough sell.
Very tough sell. I guess I could be a little more willing to listen to somebody because dropping out of open company races and has actually run well on the turf and this turf course, but class-wise, really up against it.
The number 3, Jailhouse Justice, up next for Anthony Granitz, was 3rd last time out and made the lead late in that race and sort of surrendered. You can see the winner has to face that one again. But prior to that, I thought from a trip perspective, maybe that's the trip that you want in here, stalking just off the pace, not being a deep closer, not necessarily kind of pushing the pace setter in here.
He's got upside in the fact that it's his 3rd start of his 4-year-old campaign. And like you said, Ashley, kind of like tactical, if you will. He should be able to work out whatever trip. Jaime Torres, who it looks like will be aboard for the first time once in this spot, but he has to get faster.
We will look at the number 4 now, Chicory Blaze, a fun horse to watch at this point in terms of what he's been able to accomplish. Never worse than 2nd in the career. And we're not going to go back to the Governor's Handicap, which he won, but we'll go back to 2 starts back in the Snack. And first time on the turf, you really don't know what you're going to get, but he got a beautiful trip here, and he has to hold off a late charge here from McAdoo, but he's able to do it. This might be a spot now that you're going to get him at a price because he's a 3-year-old. He's tackling the older.
Yeah, he's only tackled older one time. It was over the slop, so nothing really to take away from it other than it was a neck and it was on the dirt. But, man, this horse is good. He runs on both surfaces. You just have to love that. We saw Nitrogen do it at the highest level this past weekend, but it's not often these horses can do it at any sort of class level. And I know you like this one a little bit, and I do understand.
The number 5, Burlone, 6-1 on the morning line. A dominant winner last time out over this turf course, though it was going 7.5 furlongs. And another one that I think is dual purpose in the terms of can run on the dirt, can run on the turf, but last time out got a career best buyer speed figure of an 83. that effort really pops, but he also did get the right setup. They did go sub 46 to the half.
He did. Visually, it was even better than I think it turned out to be, which can sometimes be those of us that watch replays a little bit of a, fake deal. But, he beat a 2-5 shot that was loose on the lead. It wasn't like the race really collapsed. However, that's a horse that really has an affinity for running second. Tough read. I'm going to trust my eye third off the layoff that this horse is getting better, though.
The 6, Who's Your Daddy Now? This is the horse that's been in excellent form as of late. I would say can run on the dirt, but prefers the turf based on those last 2 outings. And we'll take a look at the most recent performance where Who's Your Daddy Now was really close to the pace throughout. It was a huge field in comparison and sort of in contrast to his prior start 6 weeks before that. But I loved this trip. He draws clear in here quite nicely. He gets an 83 buyer speed figure. How did you assess this performance? Do you think with this in mind, he deserves to be 4-1 on the morning line?
He probably is a deserving favorite. I have a lot of respect for this trainer, John Langemeyer. If you follow Horseshoe Indy, this circuit over the years, he always has a relatively high percentage. If I want to knock a horse that's 4-1 in this field, it's a little easy, unfortunately, though. He's had back-to-back just really good trips, and now he's in the middle of the field. Will he be? He's not going to be on the lead unless, Fantastic Val really changes tactics. Is he going to sit second or third in a perfect spot? Maybe, but I think these are the kinds of horses you got to at least try to consider betting against at this price in this kind of field.
We talked about Jailhouse Justice getting tired a little bit last time out. He got caught by the 7, just happy to be here. A 4-year-old son of Jimmy Creed, who was dead last early on, had a lot of work to do. But in terms of the pace setup, I don't think he really got a great pace setup. I just think he was much the best in there. But even with that said, Scott, do you have concerns that he would need to be a lot better to be competitive against this group?
I do, but it's interesting. He would have beat me a couple times, specifically last time, because a dirt sprinter that came from well out of it, moving to the turf, stretching out. I never would have thought 5-1 was I didn't go back and look at the field much. I've got a lot of respect for the consistency of his late run, but he's going to need a lot to not to go right and move forward to win 3 in a row and 4 or 5. So hard to knock a horse that's in that good a form at 20-1, though.
The 8, Fantastic Vow, on the fly once again. I looked. He is scratched, so he's going to go in this spot, it looks like, on Wednesday. And in terms of time form U.S. pace projection, he looks like he could be loose here on the lead. But even with that said, I think the key, Scott, might be the distance here at 1.1 miles. You might be able to get away with that going shorter, going 7.5 specifically there at Horseshoe Indy. But last time out, he can't go that quick and try to kind of replicate that performance, or I don't think it's going to end well for him.
No, it's tough to figure out how it's going to end well for him unless we see something maybe that we haven't seen from him, the ability to relax in some capacity. Sammy Bermudez has been on him every time. They didn't try last time, I guess, because it worked the first time against much, much lesser. I'm glad he's in the field. It brings more intrigue, but at 5-1, I'll have to pass.
The number 9 leading the charge, this one for Team Block, actually bred this one as well, an 8-time winner in 20 career starts, just a really salty 8-year-old. But with that said, have to go pretty far down the page to find a win. 2022, and Scott, I know that he had a really long layoff. Obviously, they had to regroup, but even with that said, he's winless, but I feel like his effort at his best, he could at least get a piece in here.
Yeah, a lot of barns I wouldn't, give the respect that I am to this horse in this spot. But I just kind of learned over the years, mostly in, being in Kentucky, but just Chris Block shipping around. This guy knows what he's doing. 22% again on the year this year. And I think he's just progressing nicely third off the layoff for this spot. He's raced in this race twice. He's won it before. The fact that he hasn't won since 2022 is so against what I normally am okay with, but I think he's got a big shot.
The number 10 VMAX, this one for Ethan West, has been a winner in those last 2 and is a horse that I think when you look at trip, he's another one that might be in the perfect spot. He loves it there at Horseshoe Indianapolis, but he is light on the figures.
He's light on the figures. We'll see if an outside post, the 10-hole in a full field is to his detriment, but he is third off the layoff. You could always hope for, getting back to or surpassing a career best. And all 3 of his wins, not a surprise for an Indiana bred turf horse, but they're all over this course.
The 11 Jeopardy Theory, I thought ran okay 2 starts back. Got some pace set up, sat off of it, made a late run, but last time out was a big price. And Who's Your Daddy Now was much the best, and don't know how to assess that performance. I would have liked to see maybe a bigger step forward, second off the long layoff, and I don't think he offered that to us, Scott.
No, he really didn't. This is a horse that's drawn again to an unfavorable post, and he's one that has won more recently than Leading the Charge, but not in terms of amount of starts. You got to dig deep to look down the page to find the last winner for this Son of Santiva. It kind of feels difficult to think that this is going to be the spot, but he did run second last year.
And then the 12 Runaway Rojo going to round out the main body of the field. And I don't know how to assess him at all. I mean, they tried him once on the turf, and I didn't like the performance. They regrouped, first start in the barn on the dirt, second best as the favorite. Now they go back to the turf.
Yeah, difficult to figure out why they are. Maybe it has something to do with the ownership group. It doesn't, maybe they're hoping this comes off. I don't know. It doesn't look like this is a horse that I would think is definitely set up well for this spot. And then you have to add to the fact that his best efforts have been riding up on a slower pace. So he's just going to get caught in chase mode, best case to me. Another horse at his morning line, at least, that seems not that favorable of a wager.
And then really quickly, I'll just mention the 13 Zach and the 14 Tree Fitty are the long shots here, 15 to 1, 30 to 1. They would have their work cut out if there are scratches and they draw into the main body of the field. So a really nice edition here of the Bucchero. It is the Wednesday race of the day here for the Daily Racing Forum. So don't forget free past performances on the website. And curious to see which direction you go in, Scott, because you mentioned you could go against Who's Your Daddy Now, and going to put them all the way in the fourth spot, and you're going to use Leading the Charge here for Team Block.
Yeah, well, last time I did that against a state bred, I saw a filly put on a freak show trying to beat a favorite last week in a neighboring state. But I'm going to go Leading the Charge. Chris Block, third off the layoff, pointing at this race. Should get a good trip. 8 wins in 20 starts. I know he hasn't won in a while time-wise, but I think he can do it.
And we'll use a lot of the same horses here in common, the 4, 6, and the 9. I'll use the 4 Chicory Blaze on top. I know it's a 3-year-old going against the olders, but I just think in terms of trip, maybe he'll get the right trip here. And the one turf performance, I like what I saw. So 9, 5, 4, 6 for Scott, 4, 6, 9, 8 for me. It's race 8 at Horseshoe, Indianapolis this Wednesday. Good luck.